opinion. Decisions are individual, and when approached with an open mind and an honest and fair perspective, good things usually happen. I have a few points to make, but while I'm making these points, I want you to be thinking about this question because I asked just about everybody that called me. In this situation only, how can we have a fair, honest bidding process when one of the bidders has already had his bid shown publicly? How'd you like to get in a poker game like that? Now, it depends on what player you are. My points are, it was my perception that most of the council felt that the numbers that were given to us by test in this contract were very reasonable, considering the economy, past contracts, and the economic outlook for the state and the country. These numbers were very good. I'm not going to reiterate them because if you're paying attention, you already know what they are. Second point, test track record. Look at their track record. Look what they've done. I haven't been a council member but a few months. First time I met Chris, he was bumping arms with me, filling sandbags and hoisting them around a perimeter that we barely saved within a half an inch. If the water would come up a half an inch more, folks, we wouldn't even be having this discussion because we would be up to our ears in debt. They were there. I hear stories about how they helped with the fire out at West Clocks. None of that stuff's in the contract. We couldn't put that in the contract. Not unless we're some kind of a God that can predict the future. Third, trust. We're taking our drinking water and we're giving them our trust. And we've been drinking this water for a long time. And yeah, I buy bottled water too once in a while. And yeah, I've got a filter on my water because I'm taking the rust out because I'm down on the far south end of town, which has nothing to do with test. We trust them with our drinking water the same as we trust the people that put the water in here. You know what's in this water? I don't, but I trust it. I trust their means of keeping our water safe and clean. We put that into our mouth and we swallow it just like the pills the doctor gives to you. We have that much trust in it. And the last point I want to make is local families. Dave kind of touched on this a little bit. You know, if I'm going to use a number, $100,000. Let's say Test pays their employee $100,000, or this group of employees $100,000. They live here in Peru. They've got roots here in Peru, just like I do, and I think almost all of you do too. They have roots here. They spend at least 50% of that $100 right here in our community. Right here in our community, unlike those guys that put the sewer in and took the money and hightailed it to Chicago and the suburbs and gave McDonald's a couple bucks at lunchtime. That $100,000, 50% of it comes right back here to our community. Of that 50% that comes to our community, the people in the community that receive that 50%, they put back 50%, which now 25,000 more out of that 100,000. Of that 25,000, the next group, it's the same story. It trickles down. Just do the math. Figure out how much of that 100,000 comes right back home. I'll tell you this. I'll work very hard to try to keep this from happening again because, I said earlier, I do believe in sealed bids as an honest and fair solution in most cases. In most cases. I have so much respect for Test. I have so much respect for Test. That's the reason I put the word most in there. Understanding that the lowest bid is not always the best bid. We did that. We did that back with the sewer plant. We learned those lessons. Those are hard, expensive lessons. I've learned, and learning doesn't come cheap or easy. This situation is proof of it. I cannot find, nor have I heard, a good, honest, and fair solution to this situation. I have not found one. Therefore, I'm taking a contract that I feel is fair with a company that has proven themselves in our city. And I will be voting to renew the test contract and not throw them under the bus.
Your Honor,
Alderman Perez?
that was very good, Alderman Sapienza. As we go through the discussion of the management and supervision agreement, I want to also make clear that my opposition going forward has nothing to do with test at all. In fact, the little of over 2 years serving as an alderman, representatives of test have always been professional with outstanding service in the city of Peru. In my opinion, test is an asset to our community. With that said, I oppose any motion brought before us that's not consistent with our contractual process, which consists of competitive bidding. The process to spend taxpayer dollars consists of spending $5,000 plus needs to go in front of the committee for approval. Spending $20,000 plus for contracts must go out for bids unless the supermajority rule prevails. Using the supermajority rule should not be used to bulldoze through a process. In my opinion, by this council applying the supermajority rule to avoid the competitive bidding process bruises the integrity of our administration and the contractor. And it's not only unfair to the contractor, it's against the wishes of the citizens of Peru who's elected us. The citizens demand us request bids. By not bidding this contract, it's simply irresponsible. I'm asking the council to kill this motion by voting nay. We can then refer back to committee with the recommendation to request for proposals and qualifications. If time for requesting proposal or qualification becomes a concern, then we discuss extending the current contract by 60 to 90 days to make sure the process is thorough. There are many things that we could do moving forward and sending out those bids, or the proposals for qualifications, and I think it's something that the city needs to do. No one knows better than the current contractor. Alderman Sapienza had mentioned a couple of good points. One of them was the fact of what about test? What about their contract? The numbers are already out there. Well, that's what happens in public works contracts. And I believe that if we were to send out for proposals, that there's nobody better than the current contractor that's been with the city for so many years. They know where to and how to sharpen that pencil to make things work. And not only that, but they know the ins and the outs to work that proposal. There are a lot of advantages to having having them rework their proposal for us. And I think it's only responsible that we move forward and do that.
Alderman Perez, I have a comment for you. You have not answered the question. How do we make this process fair and honest? How can it be done? Think back to the poker game. How can you do that when do you think for 1 minute any company is going to be foolish enough to bid the same or over what we already have? Do you really believe that?
Alderman Sapienza, I believe with going out for proposals, and you explain to the contractors what we are seeking, what the work that we need done, and you have them do a proposal, drafting and how they're going to complete that task for us.
So then you suggest that we put in there, take care of the fire for free in West Glocks, take care of
Oh, boy.
that's what Tess did. Didn't you just tell us that? Tess went down there, volunteered their time. They went down to I'm sorry, folks, that's...
Alderman Sapienza, this isn't about the quality of work and what they can do and what...
No, it's about fair and honest. How can you put that in a contract? We've already looked at a contract from 2 years ago with the sewer.
Alderman Sapienza, Chandler's does a fine job for us.
This is time for discussion. It's not time for a debate up here. So, is there any further discussion?
I think what you want to make people believe is that the city bids every contract of $3 million. We would never enter into a $3 million contract without bids. And actually, that's not true, because not too long ago, this city entered into a 4-year, multi-million-dollar contract with Local 150 to provide labor for the city's public works department, and we did not go for bids on that. we're gonna enter into a contract with the police department, FOP, to patrol our streets, multi-million-dollar, multi-year. We didn't go for bids on it, 8-0. And that would be crazy, right? Who would go out for bids in your police department? Why would you do that? If your police department bargaining and comes to you with a reasonable increase,
Please quiet down a bit.
if your police department bargaining comes to you and say, hey, we need a reasonable increase in what you're contracting us to do for your city.
pays the
Who would
police?
go for bids on that? Those are your police officers.
We do.
They patrol
We
the
don't pay
streets, they live
tests.
in your city, they have institutional knowledge of your city. You know, there would be
That's
100
ridiculous.
times as many people
pays
here who try to
tests?
contract out our police department.
Who
And the
pays
question
tests?
I have is, how
Chris
come when it's
Para.
a private company,
Who pays
all of a
him?
sudden people think,
City of Peru.
hey, you know, we're probably getting ripped off on this. We should go for bids on this. You know, these people are actually getting a raise that's smaller than the
It's a
raise
private
we give our
company.
own
Somebody's
employees.
making money.
How much?
Okay,
I have no idea.
other discussion?
Your Honor, I just wanted to say, I don't know if there's a topic more important than the quality of water in our city and for quality water for our residents. I think one of the things you see unique in the contract on page 7, it's kind of an insurance policy or protection for our residents that the city has a 30-day, basically a 30-day contract. Meaning if we're not happy with the service, if there's something different with the service, the company's sold out, you as residents, we have that protection to rectify it. A few years ago, I thought that the city could effectively save money by doing their own water treatment. I thought it would be more cost effective, and certainly other people contacted me with that same issue. What we found out very quickly is that with the collective bargaining agreements that we have in place, average wage of about $30 an hour, the rising cost of health insurance, and pension legacies that we see in the newspapers that are off the charts for every city, it makes good sense from a financial standpoint to have an outside contractor that you can trust, like Test, be involved in it. It's also hasn't been said by one person in this room that they've dropped the ball, or their quality of water is less than expectations. I haven't heard of anybody who said that the service that Test provides is subpar or not worth it. So I think those are big issues, and those again are positive points of we're much better off with a private company and a private company that's close by.
Any further discussion?
Your Honor,
Alderman Prince?
Alderman Putoff, you mentioned, pointed out 30-day terminate. I believe that's 60 days, and it has to be within a certain amount of time on the anniversary date.
Page 7,
I read that.
Article 6.
No, you have actually two terminations. One is the anniversary date, okay, so that's every year. But if you look in the contract about which the fifth rider amends, and I read that language earlier, that is in section 6.1 of the 1993 contract, okay? So all the 5 riders have really done is just amend the compensation in those contracts. So I'm saying, even looking 20 years later, you know, in any contract, let me just say, it's only as good as the parties that sign the contract. So you can have whatever language you want, you know, but it's only as good as the contracting parties. But in that 1993 contract, which continues, except as amended by compensation, says the city, upon reasonable cause determined within the city's sole discretion, may upon 30 days written notice to contractor to Test terminate this agreement. So you have essentially a 30-day termination clause, and you also have an annual termination clause.
Lastly, I just wanted to make clear one more time that the opposition isn't against Test, it's against the process. And my voting nay is going to be for the how we are handling the process. And we don't have to, if we go up for bids, we don't have to go with that lowest bidder. We can look at them, we could gather all of our facts, all the proposals, and if Test, which with everything that they have done for us, I favor. So until we have a process, until we go through with that, you know, we don't have to say we're taking that lowest bid. We're gonna go with quality because quality comes first, and then we're gonna look at that price. But we have to go out for proposals so we can at least compare. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Your Honor, as a member of the Public Works Committee, I'd just like to say that I've enjoyed a nice working relationship with Test. They are certainly a professional company to work for, or work with, and you know, they're available whenever we call.
Any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman Okoshis, to approve the ordinance as written. Clerk call the roll.
Alderman Paul.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Prokopis.
Aye.
Perez.
Nay.
Radke.
Aye.
Mueller. Sapiens.
Aye.
Motion approved.